Welcome to Senior Savvy with Abby. Today we're talking about iPad basics. If this is your first time joining me, welcome! I am so glad that you made it. I created a video just for you and it's called About Abby. It's an introduction about who is hosting this program. Today we're going to cover all things iPad, and there's going to be an overview. We'll talk about gestures. We're going to talk about things you must know, as well as some of my favorite tips and tricks. First, I want to give you an overview on your device. You see, so many of our modern devices are just handed to us without a diagram or a formal introduction. And I love a good diagram, and I want to point out all of the features and the functions so that you are more comfortable and confident and can take ownership of this device. So number one, we have a FaceTime camera. Number two, up there at the top, that's called the notification bar. Number three, there is a sleep-wake button, typically up top, that you can tap to put your device to sleep. Number four is a rear microphone. Number five is where you plug it in and charge it. I think you know all about that one. Number six, there is a speaker there as well as on the left side. So 6 and 8 are both where your speakers are located. And number 7, that is where a home button would be. Now I want to teach you a couple of different gestures that you can use to navigate around your device. This is going to help you with your accuracy. So the first one is a tap, and you just do a tap, tap. The second one is a double tap, tap, tap. The next one is a drag, and typically you're going to drag down from the top to bring down a control center, for instance. The next one is a pinch out and a spread. So you can pinch to bring text closer, and you can spread to make it larger. And then there's also a rotate. Now, one of my favorite gestures is called the flick, and that's where you just quickly flick your finger down. What I don't want you to do is I don't want you to punch it, okay? My clients say to me all the time, well, can I just punch it? Should I punch it? No, don't punch it, but I want you to master these gestures so that you can navigate around your device confidently. Now let's talk about the home screen. Number one, up top here is the status bar. If you want to know how much battery you have, if you're connected to the Wi-Fi, and if there's a cellular connection, you're going to look up there at the status bar. Number two is the front camera. Number three, these are all your apps, and apps is short for application, which is typically a mobile application. Number four is where you're going to see the screen view indicator. So if you have several screens of apps, you'll see 2 or 3 listed right there. Number five, the apps that you keep at the bottom, those are called the dock. And you want to be able to put your most important apps down there. Number 6 is your home button. Let's talk about the status bar and all of the various icons you may see up there. So the first one is the Wi-Fi signal, and you want to make sure that you are connected to the Wi-Fi. Number 2, this one is airplane mode, and it doesn't mean that your device is going faster. What it does mean is that you are not receiving any incoming signals. Okay, so if you see that airplane up there in your status bar, chances are you're not getting any emails, right? Number 3, this one is for portrait orientation lock, and what this does is it prevents your device from flip-flopping when you're reading, for instance. Number 4 is the signal for Bluetooth, and that is giving you a short-range connection to your hearing aids or your headphones. Number 5 is a quarter moon, and this one means do not disturb. And if you've turned this on, chances are you are not being disturbed by anything. You're not getting any sounds, you're not getting any notifications, you're not even receiving any email. So I want you to see if that is the case. Now, every iPad comes with a keyboard, and this keyboard has a couple of symbols and keys on it that I want to show you. Number one, simply a shift key. Number two is where you would select emojis. Number three allows you to access another keyboard for numbers and symbols. Number four is for dictation, and this one is really handy, especially when you start using your keyboard to dictate messages for you. And number five, well, this one will allow your keyboard to move down to the bottom and out of the way. Now, I always like to share these next tips with my students. If you're using your iPad to write a lot of letters and emails, I want to encourage you to get a case that contains an extended keyboard. This is going to help you significantly. Additionally, you can also purchase a great big keyboard like this one with high contrast keys to help you. I always recommend to my students that you choose a case that's colorful and bright. This way you can spot it from across the room. Also, choose one that has good bumpers around the outside to protect your device. Now let's talk about some settings, some apps, and some ways that you can customize your iPad to meet your needs. First, let's talk about the common settings. Number one, this is where your name and your Apple ID would be. Number two is for Wi-Fi. Number three is where you can toggle on and off notifications. Those are sometimes referred to as those annoying pop-ups. So make sure you go in there and toggle off the ones you do not want to be notified by, like every time someone posts a new Facebook picture. Number four is where you can go for display and brightness. Now, I've noticed that ever since Apple gave us the option of opting for the dark mode, that's really helped with my visual fatigue. So if you're noticing that your eyes are tired at the end of every day of looking at your devices, try opting for the dark appearance and see if that helps you. Also, in the display and brightness is a place where you can take your apps from the standard setting to the zoom setting, and this just makes them a little bit bigger. When you do want to get a new app, you're going to head to the App Store, but first you're going to want to make sure you know what your Apple ID and your password is. Your Apple ID is like your driver's license for your Apple devices, and you will need it in order to download a new app. Now, when I go into the App Store, I always go with a clear intention in mind, and I go to search first and foremost. Then I type in what it is I'm looking for. Maybe it's a garden app, maybe it's a shopping app, maybe it's a golf app. And then from there, I like to read the reviews and see how well reviewed this particular app is. When I'm convinced I want to get it, I tap Get, and that's going to download it onto my home page. Here's a list of apps that my students tend to love to use. You'll find everything from Hoopla, which is a free library app, to Pillboxy, which can help you schedule your medications. Now, I want to also talk about how you can own your device. And when you start using it, I really want to encourage you to customize it so that it suits your use and your needs. This is your device. This is not your son's iPad. So consider changing the font size. Consider moving some of the apps around so that they're more convenient for you. Consider deleting the ones that you will never use. Own it. In the same way, when you would get into your car and you'd make adjustments to your mirrors and you would adjust the seat so it fits you just right, I want you to also own your iPad and consider rearranging the apps so that you know exactly where they are. Let's now talk about how you can finesse the usage of your iPad. One thing that you can do is opt to multitask. If you have a home button on your iPad, double tap it, and what that does is it takes you to a screen where you'll see all of the previous apps that you've been using. This is called multitasking. And I know you're probably retired, but I want to teach you that this is a necessary skill when using your iPad. You see, you could be text messaging someone and they can ask you if you're available next week to meet. You would double tap your home button, which could bring up your calendar app, for instance. You can look at your calendar, see if you're available, and then double tap the home button again to go back to the text message. That's multitasking. One of my favorite tips is to do a spotlight search. Now, this has been a game changer for me. What I do on any screen on my iPad is that flick. Remember that gesture I taught you? You flick down with your fingertip. And what that does is it brings up this search bar for you. There, you can type in anything from CVS to CPK, and your device will search within and bring up those results. Also, it's really handy to know how to access your control center. Typically, you can swipe down from the top right to access your most used control settings, such as brighten up your screen or crank up your volume. Now, many of us are using our iPads to do FaceTime, and I want to show you that you can drag your own image around on the screen. It does not have to be at the top right. If you want to take a live photo while you're in FaceTime with your grandchildren, you can do that. If you want to turn your camera off, you can also do that. And if all of those controls disappear, tap on your screen and they will bring those controls back up. Another tip I want to share with you is to make sure you elevate your iPad so that no one is looking up your nose. No one wants to see that except your ENT. So elevate your iPad, maybe on a tissue box or maybe on the ledge, so that your eyes are on the same parallel line as the camera in your iPad. Finally, one tip, I want to make sure that you're staying up to date with the software updates within your device. This is going to allow you to use your device with all the security settings as well as the functionality that you've come to know and enjoy in your iPad. If you want more of these tips, I want you to join me on my personal Facebook page and visit me on the Senior Savvy YouTube channel, where I'm regularly uploading new videos. Thank you so much for joining me today. It is my honor and my privilege to serve you. Have a wonderful day.